You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek Unlimited.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek, episode 153. I'm back from vacation and this is Steve Megatron Phillips, joined with...
Dave, and Mike.
Yes.
Yes.
We are
Altered
here, we are
Geek
waiting.
is not dead.
No, it is not. I couldn't let it go. It's kind of like all things Transformers.
Joke in there somewhere, but...
I've had this show on a rope, holding it hostage. It can't leave.
Yes.
So yes, lots. I've obviously come back from vacation. A lot's happened. Driving is not fun.
Driving is not fun.
Water parks were.
Yeah. But
I was ready to come back. But I had a lot of fun on vacation with my family and my wife. And
it's funny when you go on vacation and you're on, like, how long were you guys gone? A week, right?
Yeah, we were gone a week.
Yeah. I used to take a couple of 2-week vacations when my family would used to take, when I was a kid, take a couple of 2-week vacations at a time per year. And 2-week vacations or even 1-week vacations, being on vacation is wonderful, great, and amazing, and you can have all this fun and everything else. But by that, like, 5th, 6th, or almost the 7th day, if it's a 2 weeks, you're like, oh my God, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to get back to normal now.
I have done a 2-week vacation before when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My dad took us all down to Florida. And I think by day 10 or day 9, we were ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were there for we were there a while. I mean, it was a 2-day drive down, and then it was a 2-day drive back, but it was still, I was like, home.
See, yeah.
Please take me home.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, for me, and I know this was impromptu, but anyway, anytime I travel, no matter where it is, I count it as a vacation. I don't know if that's wrong or not, but...
Oh, so you mean like Adam Sandler when he shoots a new movie?
No.
He goes on vacation.
No. Like, in 2007, my grandmother on my mom's side passed away. So I had to go up there for the funeral. Technically, even though I'm from Massachusetts, I haven't actually lived in Massachusetts since 2001. Before that, I hadn't lived up there since 1993. So technically, anytime I'm not in the state that I live in, that to me is a vacation. The next quote-unquote mini vacation I took was in 2012 when in December of that year I went up and brought my mom back down here to Kentucky. And, you know, she spent the last few years of her life here from 2012 to last year. But I'm going on vacation in September. Jennifer and I have been online dating for about a year or so, a little bit over a year now, and I'm going out there to California to see her, and so that's going to be interesting, being on vacation out in California, considering, you know, I've only ever seen California on TV and newspapers and in movies, so there's all these preconceived notions. I know it's probably nothing like what Hollywood makes it out to be, but, you know, it's going to be fun, my first time out there in California. So that's going to be a fun couple of weeks. I'm actually going to be going out there 2 times before the end of the year. This first time, September through, I think, the middle of October. And then I'm going to be coming back out. I'm going to be going back out there for Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, vacations, usually when you're like in the first 3 days of a vacation are all well and good and you're excited. You want to go do stuff. Like I was saying, by that tail end of vacations, you're like, I just want to go home. I want to sleep in my own bed. I want to be able to do my own stuff. Yeah. So, vacation.
Agreed. Yeah, well, part of the middle of it kind of sucked because I got notification my books I'd purchased for class were rejected.
Oh!
Because I get financial aid.
Right.
And I wasn't taking enough classes
Ooh.
to use the entire amount for the semester, and it was more so because I don't need them. So I wasn't taking any. I had my class is 4 credit hours, and you need 6 to get the full amount of the financial aid. So if I would not have found, I'm taking a operating system class to go with my TV commercial production class,
Right.
which is 4 credits. The other class is 2 credits, so it puts me at 6. I don't need a book for it. I already know what it's operating systems. Woo! I already know everything about that. So that's going to be no brainer for me. But the thing that sucks is I had to take that class. Otherwise, I was going to have to pay $284 for my class,
Ooh.
and then another $120 for my books. Which
I hope you're
at this
getting
point
a
in
good paying
time,
job at the end of this whole schooling thing.
what's that?
I hope you're going to get a good paying job at the end of this whole schooling thing, because, oh my God, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, thanks to financial aid, I don't have to pay anything, but it's because I'm destitute. The thing that sucks too is that because I mean we really couldn't afford to do a vacation, but at the same time we had a little bit of money socked away for that, because could really use some extra money at this point, but
I mean, vacation.
We needed the getaway though,
Yeah.
because I think we were going to destroy each other if we didn't get away, and it was just nobody was happy. We were all stressed out. We needed to get out.
Yeah.
And it was a nice refresher. I got to get out of this. I got to get out of work. I get to get out of everything. And then I've slowly come back into the fold this week. Already this week I've kind of accomplished. I redid the archive section of the website.
Yep.
Because I don't remember why I went to that area. I was looking for something specific, and somehow I ended up doing that whole section and then realizing, well, I had to get it done anyway.
Yeah.
And so I did, and then I set it up kind of like the syndicated section, but I did it a little bit differently. And, kind of speaking of that, I've come up with this, and we talked about it a while back, but like a podcast directory rather than a syndication.
Right.
Which I'm more in favor for, because then it doesn't mean that there's like any strings attached for us or for the syndicated show. Because I think that that syndication, and we'll get into the whole podcast networks and podcast directory more later, but it has like kind of a bad stigma to it, and so
we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that more later, but
what's the other thing? But yeah, no, the whole, I mean, I completely understand about getting away and breaking away from your normal habits. But like I was saying, you're saying you guys didn't have a heck of a lot of money to do I mean, as long as you have gas money and money for food, you can do vacations on the cheap. I mean,
really, Mary is like a wizard with money.
Yeah.
She can stretch the dollars, and I don't even know how, but like if there's no money to play with, then it makes it more difficult. But
exactly.
There would be no way I could figure out how to budget a vacation or anything we need to get. She's like awesome with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got this vacation for like, it was under $500 altogether.
Sweet.
But
so speaking of vacations and money and budgets and whatever else, we don't normally bring this stuff up on this show or any of the GCRN shows, because we're not that political on this network of podcasts. But so Donald Trump, he's running for president. He had the Celebrity Apprentice NBC television show. I saw recently, this past week or so, that for the Celebrity Apprentice edition of the show, so this is not the regular Apprentice, this is not just Joe Blow.
You're talking about the one that Arnold hosts now?
Yeah, the Governor is going to be the host of Celebrity Apprentice. Get to the chopper.
He's going to be in Trump's cabinet.
I don't doubt that, honestly.
I'm joking, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Wouldn't be surprised if he's hiding under his kitchen sink.
I've come to help you.
Yes.
You will win.
We will.
I'm not endorsing either political
No.
candidate. I don't.
And it's not even.
I was doing it as a gag. I'm just letting people know that ahead of time so I don't get flambasted for it later. I have no love for either candidate. I think they're both a disaster for the United States.
Me bringing it up has nothing to actually do with the political part. It has more to do with the fact that Arnold is now the boss on Celebrity Apprentice. So
you're fired. Get out. Get out of the plane. I mean, the tower.
Get to the chopper. But yeah.
Get out of the tower.
Oh, God. So, in the news, not in the news. We have, we're going to be putting the comments from the previous episode earlier in the podcast as we go along. It makes more sense to me personally if we use last week's episode comments to talk about them early in the show than later. So, what do we have for feedback from 152?
I think we'll go back to 151.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll go to 152. Because we kind of covered the top 10, like our personal top 10 picks of current TV.
Yep.
I mean, there were a couple other questions in there too, but that was kind of the main one of that episode. And we got 2 responses.
Sweet.
Which some of these I was surprised being in their lists, and some of them not so much. But yeah, kudos for having a top 10. It's very hard for me to pick a top 10 when I had 24 shows I was watching. But Brad Lincoln has his top 10 TV shows right now would be Flash, Daredevil, Legends of Tomorrow, Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Big Bang Theory, Empire, Mr. Robot, The 100, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Cool.
And the only one out of that list, actually about half his list I don't watch, but actually over half. But I do realize that I'm in the minority.
Uh-oh.
As far as some of them. Well, no, I'm saying like I get why people like The Walking Dead, and I get why they like Game of Thrones and like Empire, Mr. Robot, and stuff like that. And Daredevil. I don't watch them, but some of them I have attempted. I have attempted Daredevil. I have attempted Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. I just could not get into them. I did attempt the 100 as well, but I only made it like the first 2 episodes, which I'm sure is not long enough. But at this point, I have too many shows I'm watching, so it's kind of hard for me to really try and pick up. Unless it's like summer months, and then it doesn't bother me because there's nothing to watch anyway.
Mm. Well, we're still in the summer months. I mean, there's not, there really isn't anything right now, and we're actually going to save this for a larger topic for another episode. But I'm currently trying to find, because I need something. I'm used to opening up Hulu, my Hulu app on my desktop, and seeing, oh hey, this new episode, like all my shows having new episodes. And right now, none of the shows that I've been watching religiously, because they're on summer break still, have new episodes. So I've been trying to find other shows that I had yet to really get into, because I'm one of those types of people, and I know I'm kind of a hypocrite at this, because I try to hype up certain shows that I love that other people just don't care about, and that's fine. But anything that the entire internet, that all of my friends or followers or fandoms or whatever you want to call them are talking about, I go the other way. When it's in its height of its popularity amongst everybody else, I need to be able to walk away from that show and then come back to it and discover it.
You don't want it tainted by everybody's personal opinion.
Well, it's not even that. It's just the oversaturation of it being there. Like, I can understand conversation and like water cooler stuff and that, say, oh, hey, did you catch this episode of that new show last night? Or did you catch this episode of this show that we're all watching? I can understand that. But all the talk of various shows, and I'm not going to pinpoint single out any shows, but just in general, it's like, if everybody's talking about it, I don't want to talk about it yet. I want to wait. Like right now, the 3 shows I'm currently making my way through is The Goldbergs from ABC, Community from NBC, and Person of Interest from CBS. Person of Interest, I'm up to episode 17. The Goldbergs, I've fully finished the first season, and Art Danner from Off the Cuff and Geek Stuff Garage Sale, he and I are going to do a remote control episode on season 1 of the Goldbergs. And Community, like I've made it through the pilot and like 5 minutes of the second episode. And
that show's not that bad. I have watched a little bit of that. I just haven't gotten back to it.
It's not bad, but it's not like I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 1980, so I grew up watching Cosby Show, Cheers, all that stuff. And all those shows are laugh track shows. For the, a lot of them are
so is Big Bang Theory, though.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, but like Community really isn't a laugh track show. It's more of the comedy pays out over the episode. And I'm having a Community out of the 3 that I'm watching. Community is the one that I find myself having the hardest time to watch, and I just don't find I like Joel McHale when he was doing the Soup on E or whatever that was that he was hosting on E. I forget what it is on the E network. I like him when he's by himself doing like a host show kind of thing, but as this character in this quote unquote comedy show, I just find him reprehensible, at least the first 2 episodes. And I know it's going to get better, and that's fine, and I'm still going to stick with it. But it's just taken me a lot longer to get through it. Like, the Goldbergs, I have certain issues with that maybe it's because I didn't have the same childhood that Adam had with the whole nuclear family kind of thing. Like, my family was different. Like, everybody's family is different than everybody else's. But there are just certain things about that show that I just cannot get into. Now, whereas Person of Interest, I love that. That's awesome. Because that's one of those action drama, not comedy, action drama police things. And yeah, so we're going to have a hell of a lot more TV talk in the future, folks. But speaking of TV, what do we got for news coming out of television?
Well, actually, I was going to go in the route of...
I'm sorry.
video games, movies, TV, they're all relative. I wanted to bring this up briefly because, of course, I follow all of this. Battlefield 1 just announced this past week, while I was on vacation, actually, that they are going to have the open beta on August 31st. I'm estimating it'll probably be open for about 3 weeks, just because the alpha was open for about 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 13, 14 days, somewhere in there. But yeah, I'm super pumped for this because I get to put the game back on my computer and play it again. And it's a new map. Plus, you get to ride horses. You get a new tank, a new type of Jeep that's armored. You get armored helmet that you can unlock, as well as because when you go for a headshot, it ricochets. Doesn't actually hurt you because you're wearing a metal helmet. So it's kind of nice. I watched the video of it, and you get to ride a horse. You get to drive a train that has turrets on it. It's going to be pretty slick. Plus, the nice part is I'll be able to play with my family.
Awesome.
Whereas I didn't get to in the alpha. So that'll be nice. And I was thinking, because it's going to be funny, I want to do a live stream, but I want to play as different characters. Like, I want to vocalize as different characters that I can do the impressions of.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go that route. I was like, what would be fun? Doing and I've watched like Stone Mountain 64, who's a big Battlefield player, and like Overwatch and a lot of this stuff. He does these things called YOLO on the Battlefield, which is he pretends like he's an actual character on the battlefield of the game. Like he'll do he does Yankee Oscar Lima Oscar or whatever, which is YOLO, and then does it for a gag, and then he'll pretend he's in the game and then start commanding his squad. I think it would be humorous just to annoy people and be the Joker. And then just have pure chaos just running around. Especially because you'll have a horse and you'll have a train. It'll just be hilarious.
Oh, God. Purple dinosaur Megatron riding a horse.
Yeah, except I'd have to like script something out for some of that. But luckily, those are the two voices I know, like their speech pattern, and I know their brain pattern, which is almost scarier because they're villains and they're like evil, and there's like it just means that there's this darkness inside you that when you start unlocking that voice,
we all have a dark side to us.
Yes. So yeah, I thought it would be entertaining to do that. When the alpha comes out, I'm looking forward to that.
The beta.
Yeah, the beta. I mean, I've been talking about the alpha for so long because I've had it. And then the other thing that kind of sucks is that they've already released the information about their premium pass, which they did this with Battlefield, like all the previous games. All these companies do this. It's their expansions. So they let you pay. It's mind you, the game is $59, which that's standard. And then if you want the special edition, which comes with just like extra skins and like stuff for like the Red Baron or stuff like that, it's like $79 instead of $59. They have a $50 premium pass, which unlocks it gives you access to all of the expansions as they start coming out. So like you pay it up front, and then you get the first expansion, which comes out in like March or something, and then every 3 to 4 months you get a new expansion, and it just automatically downloads. So like I'm down for that, but I don't have $120 to spend on a game. Yeah. So I will play the game, but I don't know how soon. I may not be a part of that original party that starts in October. Well, time will tell. Yep. I got other bills coming up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way with the Battlefield 1. And yeah, there was another comment as far as the top 10, and it was Brian Jackson, and he had, I know it's kind of jumping back that way.
That's fine.
He had Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Gotham, Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, At Midnight, Jimmy Fallon, and Daredevil.
Okay, Brian, I got to ask you this because I don't know. Me and The Walking Dead, it has nothing to do with the show and whatever else, but whenever I hear zombies, I run the other way. So let me ask you, Brian, what's the damn difference between The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead? Is Fear the Walking Dead a prequel, a sequel? What's the deal?
It's a prequel.
Okay, well.
Because Mary watched some of it. I know enough about all of these that I could kind of comment on them, but... Yeah. Fear the Walking Dead is basically the first episode shows the first infected people.
Oh, okay.
And then
so it's kind of like a Resident Evil kind of thing. Okay, all right.
Well, not really. I mean, it's people that somehow they get into some kind of a drug, and people discover the first zombies, and then they go to the ER, and then people start getting mass infected because it's at a hospital. So it just kind of shoehorns them there. I know they plan to connect it to The Walking Dead and have it like characters from The Walking Dead appear in it.
Yeah. Said the first zombies. All I can think of is, oh my god, imagine if the first 13 primes were zombies.
I thought you were going to refer to the presidents. They're all zombies in my eyes, but.
No.
They all eat the flesh of everybody around them.
You know what's really sad? I'll have to take a picture of this before I get my hair cut before I go on vacation. My hair has gotten so long at this point, I essentially have a Donald Trump comb over in the front.
I thought you were going to say you're a chia pet, but...
No.
Chia.
Yeah.
Only not green hair.
No, you're the Joker. I'm not the Joker. You're the.
I thought you were going to say something about the fact that Trump has almost a squirrel on his head. But,
there's a squirrel on his head.
So, jumping into the next part of news.
The STDs.
STDs. Star Trek Discovery. William Shatner has expressed interest in wanting to join back up as a cameo role, but not to play Kirk. He just wants to play that type of character where he's basically the old man getting all the women.
I mean, I honestly think it would be fine.
He doesn't want to come back as Kirk because that would just not fit right. He wants to come back and be like basically the same type of character archetype where he's got all the women surrounding him and he's basically like Hugh Hefner version of Kirk.
But I mean, he could still be Kirk, except Kirk's retired.
No, he couldn't because this show takes place 10 years before the original series.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah, they released that information too after I did the thing, and I was like, oh, that's superb. Yeah, let's make another prequel series that nobody wants. Because they had this Star Trek show a few years that basically failed, and it was called Star Trek Planet of the Titans.
Right.
Back in the 70s before the motion picture, they were going to pitch this show. The Star Trek Discovery starship Discovery is the same blasted ship that they pitched back in the 70s that Roddenberry was like, nope.
Oh, jeez.
And so it's that was that picture I posted a few months back.
Yeah.
As soon as we found, or like a month and a half ago when we found the Discovery.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, I'm like, why are they doing another prequel series? Because, especially being in the Prime universe, we've got Enterprise, and then we've got the basic notion of what happens before Kirk. And if they're wanting, like, they're saying that they're going to have, like, kind of a female lead, and it's going to be from a different perspective instead of just the captain. It's going to be, like, a lieutenant commander that's a female. Which, okay, because they couldn't have female captains back in those days. Yeah. Like, they were all, that's just the way things were until, like, the 24th century or 23rd century. But anyways, so I'm thinking, I'm like, why don't they go to, like, the 25th or 26th century? Like, skip another 100 years after Picard.
Yeah.
And they do that timeline. Because then you can imagine a whole new set of technology without having to basically fit yourself into this little pigeonholed area that's already been done.
Yep.
And my concern is they're going to make the tech look still more advanced than... I mean... Enterprise, at least, it looked more advanced to some degree, but it looked still like militaristic and archaic like today's time. It looked like they were floating around in a submarine based on the inside of the design.
Right.
Whereas if you look, and again, I haven't seen anything for Star Trek Discovery to kind of base this off of for the ship, but I'm hoping that they stick in that kind of realm, because if they don't and they try and one-up the original series, it's going to look really weird. When compared to anything from the original series and their films, like pre-Picard. So like I'm kind of apprehensive of what they're going to do here.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that I don't know. I'm hoping that they can do something with this.
Yeah.
And I'm optimistic, and I really hope that they bring Shatner on, because I think that would be like another like Leonard Nimoy kind of passing of the torch, and with the 50 years.
The only now that you explain more of it to me about it being a prequel series, honestly,
it's after Enterprise, but it's before the original series, and I don't see the need for it.
Right. I understand that it's a middle child series between Enterprise and TOS. But what I'm saying is that, because it is a prequel series to TOS, I really don't want to see Shatner in the show. I don't want to see him in the show. I want to maybe hear him as a narrator instead. I think that would be cool, but because
he's in his late 80s, so like I don't really see him doing that. But like if they had him play a bit part like that, I would be fine with it.
Oh, Star Trek. What are you gonna do?
They technically could have the Nexus crash back earlier, too.
Yeah.
And then you could have Kirk get yanked from the Nexus again, because there's still echoes of the same person in there, regardless if they get pulled or not.
Right.
Because part of them's still alive in the Nexus.
Yes.
So theoretically, Kirk could live forever.
He probably will.
He's like Guinan and Picard. They could live in the Nexus forever. So yeah, I would like to see that, but that's just me personally. The other thing that they've kind of mentioned with the show is that they're going to have, because it's 10 years before the original series, they're going to have, at times, the original series characters show up.
How some of them?
tastefully like on a screen, or they're gonna have their
Oh,
vocals.
okay. Yeah.
So like I'm kind of, I don't know if I want him to do that because
That would be
like,
fine.
well, because like 3 out of the 7 are dead.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to sound like like unsympathetic or anything, but it's, you don't have Scotty, you don't have Bones, and you don't have Spock.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is Shatner's the healthiest looking one out of the bunch, and he's the oldest.
Yeah.
Out of the 4 that are left, he's the healthiest looking one, and he's the oldest. So like I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that, I don't know. I'm not really sure what to expect with this, because Bryan Singer, like I'm not I'm not a fan of most of his stuff. And then
Well, Singer isn't attached to this, is he?
or not Singer. What's the other guy? Fuller, whatever. I'm not a fan of like all of his stuff.
I was gonna say, wait a second.
It's got this weird look to everything, and then like I'm a fan of Nicholas Meyer, but that's because he did Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 6, wrote and directed them.
Right.
And those were to me the best original series films. But again, like I haven't seen any footage. I haven't seen anything besides the crappy looking ship, and the over CGI'd logo.
Yeah.
For the series, which is going to look really hokey on CBS.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that they have not put out a trailer yet, or at least a teaser for it.
I don't think that they've had anything. I think that because they put out the ship teaser, which was utter garbage. It looked like the quality on it looked worse than Star Trek Renegades or any of the fan projects that I've seen come out of Star Trek, the fandom in the last like 2 years. Like it was the animation on it and the quality was nowhere near what we've seen come out of the fan projects in the last few years. So I'm really I'm hoping that that's just a crappy raw shoot that they got out around Comic-Con time. Because I'm not going to be a fan if that's how the show's going to look.
So since we're talking about Star Trek and spaceships and all that stuff, did you know August 25th, the day we record this, marks the 35th anniversary of the NASA Space Shuttle Voyager 2's flyby of Saturn? Wow.
Nope, did not know that.
And 35 years since Voyager 2 did a flyby of Saturn.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about as far as that. I did have some fun stuff happen with my YouTube channel, though.
Cool.
No, I'm saying that facetiously, but I had a copyright.
Oh no!
Thing that came up.
Really?
And it was rather, yeah. It wasn't even my fault. That was the worst part. I had, because you know my altered gaming intros.
Right.
Like I have, they're basically Battlefield 1's teaser trailer just smashed together to be an intro, and they changed Battlefield 1 to altered gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently, when I paid the guy on Fiverr to make this for me, because I couldn't figure out how to do it, and plus, the templates I found use Sony Vegas, or Sony, I think that's the software for their video editing. I don't have it. I use Adobe, so like it's not going to work for me. But I found it after I already paid the guy. Well, apparently this other guy that actually creates the templates flagged me.
Oh.
And I got a copyright strike. And I'm like, well, I was like, okay, what do I do now? And it's like, it was like a bunch of tutorials to try and figure out how to get around this. And it kind of ruined like the last day of my vacation.
Oh.
Because I'm like, I have a copyright strike. I can't live stream. Because if you get one strike, they take away your live stream.
Really?
If you get 3, if they take 3, then your channel's gone.
Yeah, 3 if your channel's gone, but 1 strike they take away the live streaming thing. Like,
yes, could not live stream, could not embed the live stream. So like I was like, oh, this is just awesome. I'm like, Battlefield 1's getting ready to come out, and I want to stream it, and I'm not going to be able to. And so like, so I emailed the guy, and I'm like, look, this is what happened. This is what, can I get the strikes removed? If you want the videos taken down, I'll take them down. And he removed the strikes, took away the thing, and I just put the credits to him on it.
right.
rather than the other guy on my videos, and he was cool with it. And I let him know that I said, well, just so you know, and I'm like, I'm not trying to like snitch or give away anything to all these people that are doing it on Fiverr, but people are using your templates and selling it for,
Profit,
services for profit on Fiverr, and he gives these templates away for free,
Right.
so long as you credit him,
Right.
in either the video or in the comments,
Right.
in the description.
In the description, yeah.
And so I made sure if I used it in any of my videos, I just put it in the description, which not a big deal. It doesn't bother me. I don't have any problem pimping out somebody's stuff if I'm,
Right.
utilizing something that I did not create. And so, I did that, and he reversed it, and everything's gravy now. But like, I was like, that really sucked.
Yeah. I'm sure that really, really sucked.
And I'm like, I didn't even do anything wrong. Like,
Yeah.
for once, like, so. Yeah, so like I know now, but like I also looked at, he's got a lot of great templates, but they're all video game based, which is where everybody's getting them from for these sites like Fiverr.
Yeah.
They're all stealing them from the guy making them.
That's not even cool.
And selling them. And I'm like, how is that even right?
That's not right at all.
Like, because if I would have known, like, I would have just downloaded like a trial of Sony Vegas, and then I would have just downloaded it from the guy, gave him the credit, just made it myself. But
Yeah.
I didn't know that was how it was made.
Wow,
I just thought that
just...
Yeah, I was like, it's just such a crapshoot, man. I was like, how are you going to do that to somebody? Like, just steal their stuff, then sell it. Like, it'd be one thing if you're, like, using it. I mean, it's still wrong, but, like, it'd be one thing if you're using it, but you're not selling it.
Right.
Or trying to make a profit off it. But if, like, you're stealing somebody's stuff and then trying to point blank make a profit off it, that's just messed up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was kind of what happened to me. But I think before we go into the topic, I have to do a little promotion here on the show.
Yes.
Which you know what that is. Loot Crate! So the August 25th to September 19th Loot Crate is Speed. And yes, it says this month's Loot Crate has a high-octane assortment of goodies from Batman, CW's The Flash and Arrow, Battlestar Galactica, Iron Man, and Gone in 60 Seconds. If you have a style for speed, you'll love our Speed Lootwear collection, featuring Sonic Socks for when you gotta go fast, a Transformers wearable for your world-saving needs, a winning Mario Kart tee, and more. This Loot Crate wear collection is gonna zoom away quick. It says you have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive this month's crate. And then when that cutoff happens, that's it. It's over. Head over to lootcrate.com/GCRN and enter code TBV to save $3 or 20% off any new subscription. That actually sounds halfway enticing because Batman, Flash, Arrow, Iron Man, Sonic, Transformers. Like, those are like, I'm like, those are awesome.
Yeah, Steve's already juicing over there, folks. He's got a juice.
I got a speed key.
It's
when I had my
Mario
blue card
in that ad.
What's that?
It's funny you mentioned Mario Kart in that ad. And I follow this fan page on Facebook talking about it. The name of the page is Text from Last Night, and they post up these really, really strange, funny things. There was a whole night, I wish I had this recorded, there was a whole night where I started reading a lot of these to you, but 443, I'm a gentleman. Chivalry is what I do. I'll open the door, pull out your chair, buy your drinks, I'll even go down first. But when it comes to Mario Kart, I draw the line. I'm sorry, but I just can't let you beat me at Mario Kart.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, God. So funny.
But, yeah. So check out our sponsor and buy a crate. Enjoy the gear.
Buy a Loot Crate.
Buy the crate. Wear the gear. So, yeah, and then also, like, I've been adding stuff little by little to our store on Zazzle. Zazzle.
Yes.
It's very zazzly. It reminds me of something Sheldon said in Big Bang Theory, the name Zazzle.
Yeah.
I think he even said Zazzles. Was one of when he had the cats on that episode.
I
I call him Zazzles because he's so zazzy or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's when he had the the cat episode. Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
And then he was holding the cat and like, yeah, it was funny. But so yeah, I added a few Altered Geek different varying ones to the store, as well as the new GCRN logo, and then the Altered Gaming shirt. So
Very cool. Very cool.
I have yet to get one for myself. I haven't decided whether I want Altered Geek, I want Altered Geek Entertainment, or I want Altered Gaming, because I like all of them, but I can't afford all of them. My purchase habits are bigger than my wallet. So yeah, I unfortunately won't be buying it yet. So yeah, moving on. We have, I forget what the topic was. No, it was
our podcast network's really necessary or something.
Yes, are they necessary? Do we really need them? And then that kind of ties into the podcast directory, but...
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, neither one of us ever set out to create the GCRN. I was just getting into podcasting to talk about Transformers G1. You were doing ATTF. Neither one of us knew where it was going to go. I think by the time episode 17 or 18 of TFG1 hit, I'm like, ooh, I want to do more of this. And so Tooncast Classic, M-Wire, all that stuff was created. The network was created. And as we've gone along these last almost 8 years, 7.5 years now, I mean, I love having a podcast network where I don't have to just stick to one show. And that's one of the reasons why I went the review show style more so than the traditional general talk about whatever the hell you want to style. Because that way I knew I had a beginning and an ending. So I didn't have to keep going. I could sit there and record this thing, put it out there to the public, and they could look back on their childhood or whatever, and that'd be that, you know. I think where it comes into play of do we really need podcast networks is, do we really need so many of the podcast networks? And don't get me wrong, folks. When I started, I was greener than green.
We're still a little bit green.
Well, we've learned over the past 7 years. We still, do a few things that we used to do, but we've gotten a lot better as time has gone on. And for me, honestly, what it is an appreciation of podcasting equipment, microphones, headsets, that kind of thing. And what I mean by are there too many podcast networks out there is you can't sit here and build a podcast network if you're just going to use a $10 Walmart headset. I'm sorry, you can't. You need good enough audio quality and good enough editing software to make your podcast as polished as you can make it.
I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but
no, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it shouldn't have 5 minutes of dead air unless somebody makes a bad joke. Pardon me, dog. So, but I mean, for me, having GCRN and doing the podcast network with us is more of how many things can I get into? How many interests do I have that I want to talk about in depth and over time? That's really what it's been for me. And at this point, in 7.5, almost 8 years, I'm all about, I've said this before on the show and other podcasts, at this point now, I'm all about pre-production. I'd rather spend a year of our time pre-producing a 40 or 50 episode podcast and not release it until the next year. That way we're not bogged down by having to schedule our time once a week or whenever it is to record a show and then edit that show immediately and get it out. I would rather spend a whole 12 months recording and editing and prepping everything to go live in the next year than having to sit here and do it all at once and be stressed out and just end up getting frustrated with it and just, saying, Ferb it. Because over on the Phineas and Ferb show, we use the F word instead of the curse word. We use verb for cursing. So, yeah. But are they needed? I don't know. I mean, it just depends on what your interests are, really. And as I've said before, because I do a lot of production and a lot of recording and everything else, I've gone down so much in my listening. I would love to listen to all the podcasts that I had been listening to for the last 7 or 8 years, but I just don't have the time or energy to do so anymore.
Yeah, I've kind of whittled down what I'm, what I'm kind of okay with. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tough for me because like I want to do more shows. I haven't really listened to all that many shows in the last like 2 years because I got that promotion and I haven't really listened to a lot, which I think kind of caused a little bit of my stagnancy with our own podcast.
Right.
And I listened to quite a few, and it was kind of refreshing to listen to them on my drive. That's about the only thing that kept me moving. I was listening to some of ours. I listened to, and I don't mean like this show, but I mean like just some of our shows in general from the network.
Right.
And then I've listened to like some from This Week in Tech. I listened to like In Session Film. I listened to like some shows I haven't listened to before, as well as some that I have. And then so it was kind of entertaining. And then I got some new ideas as far as stuff to do and kind of like things I'd like to try in the future. But like as far as the networks are concerned, like I didn't set out to create one. I just kind of thought that we should have one, being that we had all these different shows. And then I don't know if it was necessarily like a good or a bad thing, but either way we needed to have like a total name for the whole thing.
Right.
For all the shows. But I don't know, like I'm kind of torn, like, because on the one side, having your stuff on a network can be beneficial, but it depends on the network itself, like whether it's helping you or if it's not. Because I've noticed like a lot of networks that are out now are kind of this particular caliber of where they're helping market you.
Right.
They're helping, and it's more than just social media. Like they're helping you grow. They're helping you like along all the different steps of the way. They're giving your podcast essentially a home and doing a lot of legwork for you. I've looked into quite a few different ones just to kind of see. And it's even as far as this podcast, like I've fished this one around a little bit because I don't really consider it to be part of the GeekCast radio network, because I've kind of made Altered Geek into its own entity.
Right.
And when I say that, like I've made it like, because it's got a YouTube facet, it's got this, it's got there's a lot of different entries into this. Like I do the gaming thing with it. The Altered Geek name is like more than just GeekCast Radio. So I've marketed it around a little bit, and I've noticed that like just to kind of see how some of these other networks perform, like some of them will actually spend money to help you. Some of them will put it in print, in magazines to help grow, like whoever, is a part of that network. And it's really interesting. But I don't know if they're necessary at this point though. Like just, there's the two sides of it, because like if you're on iTunes or you're on that kind of stuff, like those, you're going to get drowned out. Because everybody's on them. Like everybody's on TuneIn, everybody's on like, Stitcher, everybody's on, iTunes, on Google Play, which is the newest competitor in the field.
Right.
And then you have all these different avenues, and I don't know if it really helps you. Yeah, you're there, but like it depends on, I think it depends on the strength of the show itself and the strength of the network. But you don't necessarily need to be in a network, I don't think.
Right.
And like we've recently had, a few shows just kind of like either they just don't want to do it anymore, or they've had a different offer for a network, or they've, and when I've had people like I don't consider people to be like exclusively, oh, you can only have your show on GeekCast Radio.
Yeah, no,
like
we've never said that.
It was always like a tool to kind of give our listeners and their listeners like alternative content for stuff that we or they may not carry.
Right.
And that was kind of the intent with the syndicated program. And again, this kind of rolls into the podcast directory, which is why we're creating that instead of doing the syndicated program, because we did turn away podcasts being that either A, they were too green, they didn't mesh with our vision, or they just, we already had a podcast that covered that realm, and we didn't need the extra competition on the website.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you look at it, there's several shows even now that are all in-house that encompass a lot of the same material. Like this show, in Talking in Circles, sometimes cut into the TV stuff, which Remote Control would do, or we'd cut into the comics realm of the Pull Bag, or we cut into the films that Cinema Geeks and Movie Week in Review do. I mean, yeah, they're all different voices, but they're all covering a lot of the same materials.
Yeah, but see, our original vision for Movie Week in Review compared to what Cinema Geeks is doing, I think it's two completely very different things. They are still talking about new movies and old movies and all that, but it's two very different formats. And the Pull Bag, I have that. I've been doing that show for 4 years now. I have that as a well-oiled machine at this point, and I don't mind at all. I have no qualms about Dan and Chuck and Greg over on Talking in Circles doing their personal top 5 favorite comic book writers or whatever else, because I've just never been able to get around to top lists on the Pull Bag. I would love to be able to do them, but there's so many, it goes back to there's just so much content to decipher and decide what you want to cover. There's I've got the Pull Bag. I don't have it fully planned, but I've got it ready to go over 200 episodes if I wanted to have it go that long. So, I mean, I know there was one little debacle a few years ago with the Spider-Man 2 coverage where three of our in-house shows all had Amazing Spider-Man 2 reviews in 1 week. That was a little weird and a little strange, and that's fine. I'm not saying anything bad about that at all, but I mean, the diversity at this point of hey, when I had Dan on reviewing I Hate Fairyland from Image Comics, in that first post, I think I even put in their episode 95 with their top 5 comic things. So again, the way I see it now is, if Altered Geek and Talking in Circles talk about the same thing, but it's 2 different opinions, we can sit here and say, oh, well, if you want to hear different opinions other than ours, go head on over to Talking in Circles, and we can put a link to their, even though it's on the same website, I think we could put the link to their episode in our podcast post and vice versa. They could kind of, if they wanted to, they could do the same thing, saying, oh, well, if you want to hear other opinions other than ours, go over to Altered Geek, that kind of thing. I mean, at this point, I am really all about whatever is good for the network overall. You and I have put so much work into this thing, and I'm not saying that our other partners, Optimus Solo, all of them, have not. I'm just saying because we created it. We've put so much work into it in the last 7.5, almost 8 years. It's going to take somebody prying this stuff out of my cold, dead hand before I ever stop doing GCRN. I mean, I may need to take a break here and there, so may you, but we're not going anywhere. I still have so much that I want you and I to talk about. I still have so much that I want to do with my girl Jen. We're actually in the process of creating a My Little Pony podcast, but more on that later.
Apocalypse Pony.
Yeah, more on that later. So I mean, really, I am more now invigorated in doing the things. I mean, certain things are going to phase out. I'm not going to bring this up here now because I have a press release for it for later, but we're going to have to phase out a few of the old classic shows and stuff, but that's only for a while, and that's only on a temporary retirement kind of basis, and and till we can come back to it and say, hey, we're refreshed, we did all this stuff, now we want to come back to this. So I'm still jazzed about all the podcast network stuff, and like you said, I think the thing is if you sit there and put out a podcast that is just your own podcast, unless it gets super popular super fast, like you said, it's going to drown in, like, how many My Little Pony podcasts are out there? You know what I mean? How many Gem podcasts are out there? How many Transformers? Hello. How many Transformers podcasts are out there? There's us on All Things Transformers. There was TF Wire. TF Nation, I think, has a podcast. Canadian.
Well, see, like, what's funny is I think I was among one of the first ones to do that after, like, I left TF Wire.
Right.
And then, like, it kind of spitballed from there, but I was never consistent with it, which was kind of the other thing with that show. And I knew I wasn't consistent, but I didn't have the drive to do it every week.
Right, yeah.
Whereas this show is about the most committed show I've had, next to, like, the review shows of, like, The Beast Unleashed.
Somebody get that man a straitjacket.
But yeah, the All Things Transformers, when that first started, TF Radio had just started back up.
Yeah.
And then TF Wire was winding down. I started up, and then, like, TFW started up, and then, like, a bunch of the other ones started up.
Yeah, TFW. I mean, as much grief as we've done that website over the years, but TFW 2005 podcast, those guys, I don't know. I'd have to look this up. I'm not looking at it right now. I think they're almost to 500 podcasts,
which doesn't surprise me. I mean, they've earned it.
Absolutely, they have.
I don't know if you remember Transformers Anonymous.
Yeah.
Because I had ties with those guys too for a while, and it was funny because one of the guys, J.S. Santee from that podcast, actually, earlier this year found an episode of it, and it was the one where I guested on it, and I was doing the. They rewrote the Night Before Christmas, but did it with Transformers.
Oh, jeez.
And I was the narrator.
Huh.
And I think I had to end it as Megatron, too.
Oh, wow.
And I did that. That was actually quite fun.
Very cool.
But yeah, like, getting back to the podcast networks and the directories and stuff, like, and that's why I'm kind of doing the directory thing, and you kind of reminded me about it today, and I was kind of like, I could do this, and it would actually be... how I'm planning on doing it is it'll be very much like a typical, like, business directory thing. I got to work out a couple of kinks on the main page because I'm having issues with something. But as far as the listings are concerned, they're coming out fine.
Right.
And I want to get it so that people can add it on the front end, not necessarily have to log in.
Right.
Because at this point, it makes you have to log in, and I don't know if I want to go that route. But it's not a big deal if it does go that route. It's just I mean, on the other hand, you can edit your own thing whenever you want. But
right.
I did set up so that you can do it through social media to sign up. So it should take a lot of that work out. But I got to test that out. So I did add Altered Geek just to kind of test it out, and I added it so you can do, like, the pod logo, the hosting, all the same information I included on the syndicated pages, but I also included more information that you would find in a typical directory, right, for the podcast itself.
When it started, if it ended, how many episodes it had, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, and I'm my goal with that is to set up a place that fellow friends of the network, geeks, podcasters can put their mark in and have, like, it be in this listing, and then I'm breaking it down by category where people can kind of choose, and I got to figure out how many more categories I need, but you can click the category that it pertains to, and then you can go to that category head, and it's there. But so it kind of does away with that whole syndicated taboo that's kind of there, and have more of a free-form, like, link exchange, except it's a directory of stuff, and if, like, and I'm gonna, like, periodically review it so I can make sure that we've got the best of the best in there. But
right.
And it's not just going to be me evaluating it. I always put it to a panel vote.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out in that chapter of the GCRN.
Yep. Very cool.
And then rounding out the last bit of comments from 152, and I'll probably answer these next episode because I actually have to think about it a little bit. Haley Bailey asks, here's a question since you're a big fan of Batman. What do you think of Tom King's run on Batman so far? Do you like the new direction and new suit for Batman, and overall thoughts on DC Rebirth?
We haven't read Batman yet.
Well, I have read it. I haven't gotten.
I haven't read Batman yet. I haven't been able to buy comics in months, so.
So I got to get a little bit caught up on it, but I did buy the initial Rebirth issue. It wasn't. I don't know if it was issue 1. It might have been issue 1, but I haven't gotten. I think there's like 2 and 3 out now, but I got to get caught up on that to answer that properly. But I will come back to that probably next week. And then Brad Lincoln says, Steve, I agree with you that Star Trek Beyond was the best franchise movie of the summer. It gave me everything I wanted and more. I did like Into Darkness, but Beyond was more like the first reboot with better characters and a bigger focus on being entertaining. It's not really a franchise movie. And then he talks about what, one of his favorite movies that wasn't a franchise, but he says it wasn't a franchise movie, but Tarzan was so much better than people made it out to be. I haven't checked that out yet. It'll probably be one of those when it hits like Netflix or DVD. I'll check it out. But
yeah, when I saw that comment when he said Tarzan, I thought he was talking about Disney's Tarzan from '99.
Yeah, I forgot that they had a new one that came out this year.
Yeah.
The superhero movies and other franchise movies kind of dwarfed out some of these movies like that and made it so people didn't notice them. But I really enjoyed Star Trek Beyond. I found that was a really good film. I was very optimistic after watching that compared to Into Darkness, which I thought was a mess. I did enjoy it for an entertainment purpose, but the story and the writing was sloppy. And it was a lot of repetitive, like, fan wank. It wasn't, like, I don't think it was a well-oiled machine, whereas I think Beyond is. And I think they needed that director and Simon Pegg to come in and kind of revamp it. So, anything you want to bring up before we go?
Well, like I said earlier, my fiance Jennifer and I, we're looking into bringing a My Little Pony podcast to the network. We had been looking, not we as in Jen and I, but we as a network had been looking to bring in one to the syndicated thing, but I've been trying to think of titles, and I wanted it to be unique. I didn't want it to be generic. I didn't want to take a title that I knew was out there, and I talked to the person that basically our pony podcast is going to cover the cartoons and the IDW comics. Which I've already covered some of those IDW comics on the pull bag with Beatles Diva, but This Week in Geek and the GCRN assimilate again. Last Exit to Ponyville will return soon. That's all I can say, because we have not had a chance. Jen and I have not had a chance to talk about it or plan anything. I just know that she wants to do episode-by-episode analysis of the cartoons, and I don't know if she wants to just do Friendship is Magic, if she wants to do the original 80s cartoon, or what the deal is. But, yes, I talked to our buddy over at thisweekingeek.net, Mike the Birdman Dodd. He had started a My Little Pony podcast a few years ago called Last Exit to Ponyville. I noticed that it was in their archives section, and I just said, hey...
I think I put it there.
Well, I
don't know if it's actually archived. Well, I don't think they've had a new episode in years.
I'm just saying, I asked them, I said, hey, look, I want to do this with my gal Jen, and I've been trying to come up with a title and whatever else, and I said, I was thinking maybe we could, if you let us, we could use Last Day. He said, yeah, sure, it's already got a fan base, go ahead. So that'll be coming sometime next year, most likely. We still have a lot of planning to do, so...
Awesome.
So yeah, the pull bag is currently still in hiatus, but please, we have 4 years of comic stuff. Please go check it out. Comic Revolt Dan, aka Movie Revolt Dan, and I just recorded and released our I Hate Fairyland issues 5 and 6 review. Go check that series out, folks. Go check that out. Tooncast Beyond will be coming back for episode 69, Stripperella, and episode 70. We have yet to determine what the episode 70 topic will be. And then we're going to be doing pre-production on the 25 days of Tooncast Beyond Christmas 2016. So we got that going on. That's pretty much it.
Yep, and I'm currently compiling because we're about to ramp up for the next Top 100.
GCRN Top 100 Animated Characters.
Yes. And the GCRN Wars tournament that I'd planned because of stress levels and because of vacation and timing. And I think I mentioned this last week, but I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember. But
we're going to put that off to next year.
It'll be I'll launch it about January, so it'll give people something to look forward to.
Yep.
Around the time of the awards. I'm gonna probably shrink down the GCRN awards a little bit next year, and kind of make it our own without going too in depth with other people's stuff. So yeah. So look forward to that.
I think that's it.
I think that's a little bit it. Well, I was perusing while we were talking. It has to do with Battlefield 1. They're saying that the open beta starts August 31st, and DICE won't say when it ends. So I'm guessing that... I'm almost wondering if they're going to push it to like close to the release.
Yeah, probably.
Because the game comes out October 23rd.
Yeah.
Well, they also said that
2-month beta August 31st to October 23rd, almost a 2-month beta program. That's average for a video game company, right?
I don't know.
Okay, well, video game people, let us know in the comments.
I'm still playing Unreal Tournament 4 or Unreal Tournament Alpha. I mean, that's been on a year.
Auto 4 from 2008, and every now and then I go over to my shelf and I look through my old computer games and I pull out Quake 3. So, yeah.
Wow, you still play that?
Every now and then, not too.
I go back. I play Doom 2. Doom 2.
Yeah.
I
I had a copy of Duke Nukem 2 from the old PC days. Yeah, I'd be playing.
What, Duke Nukem 3D?
No, Duke Nukem 2.
No, Duke Nukem 3D is awesome. My brother used to code levels in that.
Awesome.
It was great. So yeah, if there's anything you guys liked or want to know more about or ask questions about that we mentioned in this episode of the podcast, whether it be on, do you think we need podcast networks, or do you see the value in them, or what do you guys think about the podcast directory? And I do plan on, like I said, streaming to my YouTube channel with the Battlefield 1 beta.
Right.
And doing character voices. I don't know if people would be interested in watching that or knowing like a consistent schedule on when I'll be doing that. Or, if people want to see a Altered Geek live, like Google Hangout.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I was thinking about doing was doing a Google Hangout like a couple days earlier and then just publishing it at the same time, the audio version.
Right, yeah.
So like people that are like Uber fans can come hang out with us on the hangout like on a Wednesday or something. And then,
see that's the thing. If we do that,
and then I just publish the audio version on a Friday.
No. See, here's the thing. What I would want is if we're gonna have fans come hang out with us on a Google Hangout, I want that show. If we get together on a Wednesday night, I don't know if you can still do 2 nights in a row recording, but if we can do that on like a Tuesday night and publish it Wednesday, record a separate, the audio episodes separate and have completely separate topics, and then just post the video version in the audio version's post and say, hey, if you want a different discussion, go check out the Google Hangout we had with our fans, and we answered their questions and that kind of stuff live.
Well, I might do that if we go the Patreon route.
Yeah. Because
I think that would be a cool way to differentiate.
Yep.
I would be down for that if we did it that way. But
absolutely.
But yeah, so that rounds it out this week. So till next time, get altered, get geeky. with the Altered Geeks.
I was waiting for you to say that. Like, is he going to use his catchphrase or not?